evening, everyone. I'd like first humbly acknowledge that the land which we live, learn, work, and play is Treaty 8 territory, the traditional lands of the Cree and Dene, and unceded territory of the Métis. For the record, we have Councillor Ball and Councillor Cardinal joining us via Teams. And councillors, please have your video cameras on for voting purposes, please. If anyone in attendance wishes to address council on any of the agenda items, please register now with the Legislative Services Desk located to my right, as I'll only be calling on those who have registered to speak. Following your submission, please remain seated for questions from council. You may register prior to the start of an agenda item to which you are speaking, and registered delegates are permitted 5 minutes to speak and must remain on topic. Before we adopt the agenda, is there anyone wishes to serve a notice of motion? I believe we have a few. Councillor Bajoko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, Councillor Funke Banjoko, serve notice of my intent to bring forward the following motion for Council's consideration at the July 11th, 2023 Council meeting. Whereas there's an announcement forthcoming of staff reductions by a major oil sand industry company, and whereas this staffing reduction will potentially affect hundreds of workers and families, and whereas this will have an adverse effect on the region's economy and financial stability for families, and whereas the municipality and region will not be able to eradicate fly out due to projects and turnaround works. Be it resolved that the mayor, on behalf of council, engage with our industry partners and invite them to share industry strategy for fly out with council, as well as request an update on fly out reduction statistics since the last discussion. The council addressed the foregoing in collaboration with industry with a renewed strategy and commitment to reduce fly out and ensure that work sites that are located within a certain radius to the municipality intentionally source for and encourage workers to reside in the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Njoko. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, Councillor Keith McGrath, serve notice of my intent to bring forward the following motion for Council's consideration at the July 11th, 2023 Council meeting. That administration review the current sign provisions under the land use bylaw and bring forward a bylaw or bylaw amendments that address the compliance issues such as third-party advertising and content, as well grandfather all non-permitted signage that's been physically present in the municipality on or before June 27, 2023.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath. Do we have any other notice of motion that we wishes to do? Councillor Dogar.
Thank you very much, sir. I, Councillor Shafiq Dogar, serve notice of my intent to bring forward the following motion for Council's consideration at the July 11, 2023 Council meeting. That administration review and bring forward a 2023 capital budget amendment on the potential roadway improvements such as double exit lanes to reduce traffic delay and congestion of existing vehicles from Ibrahim Place onto Ibrahim Drive.
Thank you, Councillor Dogar. And this evening we have a slight change to the agenda. Can I have someone make the motion to amend the agenda? Councillor Gradison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the agenda be amended by moving item 6.2 to come before item 6.1 and that the agenda be adopted as amended.
Thank you. Have someone second that motion? Councillor Banjoko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second the motion.
Thank you. Are there any other amendments to the agenda? Not seeing any. Call for vote. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on, consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, can I have someone make that motion? Councillor Weigel.
I move that the recommendations contained in items 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4 be approved.
Thank you. Can I have someone second that motion? Councillor Stroud?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I second the motion.
Thank you, and I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. This evening, we have one proclamation to make for National Injury Prevention Day. Whereas the 7th Annual National Injury Prevention Day will raise awareness of the importance of injury prevention and can help Canadians to live lives to the fullest through education and advocacy. And whereas Parachute is a national charity dedicated to reducing the devastating impact of preventable injuries. And whereas injury is the #1 cause of death for Canadians aged 1 to 44, impacting families, communities, and loved ones. And the cost to the Canadian economy is $29.4 billion a year. And whereas most injuries are predictable and preventable, and we all have a responsibility to help prevent injuries at work, at home, and at play. Now therefore, I, Sandy Bowman, Mayor of the Regional Municipality of Buffalo, hereby proclaim July 5th, 2023 as National Injury Prevention Day. And moving on to presentations, we have the Wood Buffalo Development Advisory Committee presenting the 2023 to 2024 priorities. I'd like to invite Bryce Kumka and Jennifer Vardy, Vice Chair and Vice Chair, to present, please.
There we go. Well, good evening. I'm Bryce Kumka. I'm the current chair of the Wood Buffalo Development Advisory Committee. Today we're here to present our update of what our committee's been doing for the last a little more than a year, as well as to highlight the priorities that we've identified for the committee going forward. With me today is Jennifer Vardy. She's our vice chair, and she'll be helping with the presentation as well. The key initiatives of the mandate of the actual committee is quite broad. When it was set up, it was actually put in place prior to the Economic Development Corporation and the Downtown Revitalization Committee being put into place. So there's some aspects of our bylaw that overlap with others. So we've done a fair bit of work to try and manage to prevent any duplication of work being done, and to work with the other committees and organizations within the community to progress the initiatives that we've put forward. So Jen's going to go through the introduction of what the committee mandate is. There we go.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Jennifer Vardy, Vice Chair of the Wood Buffalo Development Advisory Committee. Our mandate is to advise municipal administration and council on local development initiatives, including development, construction issues, community-based issues, public engagement activities, and region-wide economic priorities. To deal with all matters referred to by council and on its own initiative, and to deal with matters that are within our mandate. There are 9 identified committee initiatives outlined within the committee's bylaw 17-024.
Okay. With consensus of the committee remains focused on the red tape reduction as our primary goal and focus for the work that we're trying to do. Also supporting economic recovery and initiatives, working with the Economic Development Corporation in that regard very closely. And then looking specifically at red tape initiatives that impact business and commercial developments most specifically. The highlights of one of the big, I guess, accomplishments, if you want to call it that, of the committee's work and encouragement with planning and development was the support for the process review that was completed by third-party consultant with a lot of support from us and a lot of feedback. The report identified 92 recommendations, many of which have been implemented. Improved customer service being the primary focus, and I think the most profound benefit is that I think there's been a big cultural shift within planning and development to the way that they approach the people that are coming and looking to do, development, building, or permitting within our municipality. So I think that's been really good. There's also been a lot of work done by planning and development to streamline process, as well as to provide a lot more informative information to people coming in that are engaged in the permitting process. I think at the end of the day, it's facilitated property improvement, investment, and responsible growth within our region. When we haven't had a very robust economic situation, it's been pretty steady state. But we've seen a lot of activity through programs like DRIP that have been very, very successful. So the overall outcome, we believe, of the process review will be reduced barriers to development going forward. We have done a fair bit of work now over the last 3 years with the government of Alberta through their red tape ministry. We've had, I think we're on our 3rd minister now, Jen. But that's okay. The wonderful thing about the changes in the ministers is that the staff don't change. So we've got a lot of consistency. We've got a very good rapport set up or established with the staffing within that department. We've been working with them and meeting with them on a quarterly basis now for about 3 years, and started to get into some good feedback and potential for some good policy development coming from our municipality. I guess one of the interesting things that we've kind of gleaned from the consistent meeting with the ministry is that I think we're a fair bit further ahead than a lot of municipalities in our actual proactive reduction of red tape. And a lot of the things that we're done, I think other municipalities can model what we've done to implement and streamline their processes. So we're kind of, they like what we're doing. The consistent feedback from the minister's office has been that a lot of the initiatives are very, they think they're productive, and they're very happy with that. So we did have some changes in other ministers. So as we do, we send out letters of congratulations on the appointment of new ministers. So we've done that in several cases where there's applicable alignment with the work that the committee is doing. And it's been really good to keep communication open with the provincial departments that are involved in the areas that the committee's mandate falls within. So on that, one of the things that has been given a lot of discussion within our group has been what is the role of the committee within and interfacing with administration at the RMWB, at the province, and then how do we become more effective? And I think we've done a fair bit of work in our prioritization of our goal setting that we did this year to try and align more efficiently and effectively, like I mentioned before, to not duplicate the same type of work being done by ourselves as well as other committees and departments. So I think overall it's been fairly effective, and I think that going forward we've got a great basis of a relationship with the province, and hopefully we can be effective at helping other municipalities to streamline their processes as well. So Jen, can you talk to us a little bit more about our recommendations?
Absolutely. In line with our mandate, the following advice was provided to Council. The committee recommended support for the land use bylaw amendment to allow for overnight childcare with the intent to support opportunities that attract, retain business, and support economic recovery in the region. Council did approve this bylaw, so win for everybody. The committee recommended support for the approval of the process review final report and recommended regular monitoring and reporting upon the implementation of this recommendation. Our committee has participated and shared information in the following programs, and has also participated in the following engagements: our Census 2021, Municipal Development Plan Engagement Report, Downtown Area Redevelopment Plan, the Land Use Bylaw Update, Land Availability, Urban Service Area, Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo Economic Development and Tourism, the 5-year plan, Parsons Creek Development Update, and of course, the DRIP, Downtown Revitalization Incentive Program. Some of our KPIs, key performance indicators, are statistical information about the number of permits within the downtown core was presented by Planning and Development Department, and the data demonstrated an increase in permits approved.
Thank you, Jennifer. I think one of the other things that's kind of a key performance indicator was trying to work with planning and development to improve the data set that we're seeing from them. So looking at the types of permits that are applied for, as well as looking at the permits that didn't come to fruition. So an application was started or development meeting took place, but then why did the individual or company not go forward with their plans? Was there a internal frictional issue with regulations, rules? Was it too expensive, not cost effective? So we're trying to work with the planning and development folks to get the data to be a little more useful, as well as not just counting the total number of permits in an aggregated situation. Because in my opinion, the ones that didn't go forward are almost as important as the ones that did, and figuring out what we can do. And I think that's where there can be some impactful changes perhaps in the process, as well as perhaps if there needs to be modifications to regulations, then that's where we can identify that. So one of the fun things that we did this year, which is one of my favorite things to do on this earth, is strategic planning. So we developed a great process. It was very collaborative and a lot of information sharing. It's a big mandate within the bylaw. So it was a matter of when you've got 9 items that you need to be kind of working on, which ones are more important than others, and creating that process. We've done this twice in the past with the committee. I think this process was a lot more collaborative and they gleaned some really interesting and useful opinion and dialogue. So we don't need to go through this process. I think all of us know how this works. We identify what we want to do. We put them in order. We come to a consensus. We have a discussion. We did a lot of circulation via email. We did have a couple of actual focus meetings specifically on there. And then there was a committee that was kind of managing it in the back. So one of our committee members did an absolute epic amount of work on developing some of the content. That was Justin Ellis. He did a lot of the heavy lifting with respect to the creation of the document that we then got to work with. It was a bit terrifying because it was about 80 pages long when it started. Councillor Weigel will recall that. It was like a half phone book. The content was fantastic. So again, getting that kind of depth of information gathering was very, very productive for us. So what we did is we've developed our development priorities. A lot of them are, as I said before, are interfaces. So it's how we work with other groups within the municipality and externally. Oh, that thing gets loud, sorry. And one of those is the economic development and tourism interface. We have almost consistent, continuous dialogue with the Economic Development Corporation folks. And we're trading information back and forward on a very regular basis. Committee effectiveness is just kind of an internal control for us. We want to make sure that we're in fact following our mandate and not getting off track, not getting into the weeds. Red tape reductions, kind of a mainstay in there. Again, planning and development interface initiatives. That's key, I think, to continue the interface on land use bylaw, on the MDP, on anything that comes forward as far as area structure plans and so forth. So that dialogue is very important. And then the big nut is the Vision 2050. And what this was again, it was work. A lot of the work was done by Justin Ellis. And it's about creating a long-term plan for the community, introducing concepts like food security, introducing concepts like, bitumen after combustion. Like, what do we do with industry? How do we transition from the current uses of our resources in the region to what this, community will look like in the much longer term? So that's a concept and a project that's it's gonna take a couple of years to get through. So that one's very important to us, and it will be a living document. So that's where we conclude.
Good. And I know you like to talk, so thanks, Bryce.
I can see you itching to ask me this.
I was
wrap up.
flashing the button to give you a little heads up, but yes. Thanks for that. Appreciate Jennifer and Bryce. Thank you. Councilor Dogar, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, sir. Both of you, very good presentation, very informative. Your task, your aim is extremely important to me and the entire community. Rather, this task is a fortune changer for this community, uplift of this town. I hope, wish you best of luck. The question that I want to ask you is about the minister of that changes.
Yep.
How it affects us? How can they help you? The province, how can they help you in its uplift?
Yeah, through the chair to Councilor Dogar, the changes in the minister haven't been incredibly disruptive for us. Just a matter of, because we have established the kind of the rapport and relationship with the staff within the department. When the minister has changed, it hasn't really, other than bringing the minister kind of up to speed on what we've done, it hasn't really changed the initiatives. Do you want to add anything to that, Jennifer?
Yeah, just second what Bryce said, it doesn't really change as a lot of the administrative staff stays the same. We do think that it's important because, as we had talked about before, when it comes to having those relationships with the ministers, especially because we are leading in a lot of the red tape reduction. What's going to happen is if we have those conversations and continue those conversations, we can bring in people like economic development and actually create that narrative for the region that not only are we open for business, but we're also successful for business.
Thank you very much. My second question is, this is a old music on the new instrument that is fly in, fly out. You know, that would certainly make an effect. Can your organization raise some voice at province level? Previously, province, didn't agree, and can you make some awareness about this? Thank you.
I'll take this one. Through the chair to Councillor Dogar, our mandate does not include advocating for or against fly-in, fly-out. So I'm unsure what department that would live in, but ours unfortunately doesn't cover that mandate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dogar. Councilor Stroud.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman, and thank you to Bryce and Jen for the presentation. It's very interesting. Were you able to review if the permit process timeframe has been reduced, or does that fall within your committee mandate?
We get through the chair to Councillor Stroud, we do get consistent updates from planning and development with respect to, I don't know if it's permit timing, but it's more the number of permits, which is a measure of economic activity, I guess. That's kind of where I alluded to in the presentation, where we're looking to encourage the information that's gathered on permitting to be expanded and to collect some additional information that would be more useful for ourselves and the Economic Development Corporation folks as well. But we need some more depth in the metrics of the information that's being collected. So that we can have a better understanding of our effectiveness with the kind of the things that we're encouraging to be changed.
And if I may add to that, we had also had the conversation about making that data information more readable to the citizens of Wood Buffalo. So understanding that we reduce permit times, but if I'm applying for a permit, maybe that means I saved 15 minutes in comparison to 2020. So having those data points as tangible, understandable pieces has been something we've been advocating for.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Stroud. Do we have any other questions from council? I'm not seeing any, so thank you, Bryce. Thank you, Jennifer. Have a good day. Next, we have the Mayor's Advisory Council on Youth to present their year-end report. I'd like to invite Danielle Oki, Sarah Kendoherker, and Suhana Sanzi.
Good evening, Mayor Bowman and councilors. My name is Niall Kat, and with me is Suhana Sanzi and Sarah Kandoker, and we are members of the Mayor's Advisory Council on Youth. We are here tonight to give a summary on what we have done in the region with our 2022 to 2023 council and why it is important. McCoy, founded in 1993, is a committee of selected youth that work alongside the municipality with the goal of improving the RMWB from youth perspective. Any local student in grade 9 to 12 can apply, and we meet once a month where we often ask special guests to increase discussion. Recently, we have made an effort to attend municipal council meetings, and we have organized multiple events, as well as participated in many volunteering activities in order to gain insight from other youth in the region. We'll break tonight's presentation into 4 key parts McCoy focused on this past year. Number 1, special guests. Number 2, municipal council meetings. Number 3, youth town halls. And finally, community volunteering. Beginning with the topic of special guests, during our meeting, we often meet with special guests to provide insight or answer any questions we may have. During one of our first meetings, McCoy met with the RMWB Planning and Development Department to discuss what we can bring to the region and our thoughts on what we already have. As a council, we have also spent a lot of time working with the Communications Department for campaigning and advertising McCoy projects, including our newest initiative, our youth town halls, and McCoy's recruitment campaign for next year. During one of our meetings, McCoy met with 2 RCMP officers who help answer questions related to youth and the law and shed some light on how relationships between youth and police can be improved. Through Microsoft Teams, we also met with an MLA candidate who discussed with McCoy how the provincial politics works and suggested how youth can get involved in the election. These ideas included setting up signs around town, recycling election signs, or going door to door with different parties and sharing information.
Secondly, on council meetings this year, McCoy had the opportunity to attend municipal council meetings that took place here at Jubilee. A few representatives from McCoy came each time, took notes, and brought these back to our own meetings where we spent time debriefing on parts of the agenda we found interesting. Councillor Banjoko and Councillor Stroud, as well as Mayor Bowman, have attended our meetings to answer questions or add clarity regarding topics discussed at council meetings, and we invite all of you to attend our meetings in the future. That way, we stay engaged to understand what's going on with the municipality, and councillors can stay engaged to understand what's going on with the youth of the municipality. Thirdly, this year, McCoy organized the Youth Town Hall series, which were town halls catered to and led by youth. We were successfully able to lead 2 youth town halls, in which youth in the RMWB region were invited to provide insight and discuss various topics concerning them. Our first town hall was held in mid-February and focused on the topics of addiction and mental health. McCoy members led the discussions, participated in asking questions to guest speakers, and shared our voice with other youth dealing with similar issues. On the topic of addiction, McCoy conversed about the accessibility of vaping products to youth, the influences that provoke teens towards addictive behaviors, and what measures could be taken to address youth addiction. On mental health, we discussed the effects of social media, misconceptions and stigma revolving around the topic, and opportunities for youth to reach out to mental health professionals. Our second town hall held last month focused on recreation and transportation. We had special guests from the RMWB Recreation and Transportation departments who helped answer questions or concerns that arose. On the topic of recreation, the youth who attended stated that McDonald Island Park is their most used recreational facility in this region. However, many youths were looking to see more facilities uptown, such as in Timberley, Thickwood, and Deckensfield, and raised concerns about litter and vandalism.
The second topic that was discussed at this town hall was about transportation. The majority of youth stated that their primary form of transportation in the RMW is the RMWB's transit service. With this service, the youth enjoyed the multiple terminal centers, low prices, friendly bus drivers, and overall accessibility of the buses. However, the biggest concern was crowded buses carrying students to and from school, resulting in injuries, fights, and overall discomfort, as well as issues for the driver. Other areas of discussion included lateness in winter, rules not being followed on the buses, harassment, and not knowing how or where to report these misdemeanors. After the mention of a transit student guide, the majority of the youth reported that they were not aware of a guide being made. Many youth felt that further advertisement would have helped to make the transit service much more comfortable. And lastly, onto McCoy's volunteering. We would like to mention that McCoy has taken part in various volunteering opportunities this year. Being active citizens includes contributing back to the communities within RMWB just as much as they do for us. McCoy members played a key role in volunteering at the Junior Boo, the Arctic Winter Games, Festival of Trees, as well as the 20 Under 20 project. Through volunteering, McCoy contributed to serving our community, encouraging relationship building, and to promote a stronger region in which youth are intuitive and offer helping hands. Finally, we would like to conclude this presentation by thanking Mayor Bowman, alongside all of the councillors, for recognizing the significance of us youth as an integral demographic in all communities who have value to offer, whether that be regional development, giving back to the community, discussion as a means of advocacy, and actively following along with the municipality. McCoy applications are now open until late August and can be found on the RMWB website. Thank you again, and we hope to see many of you join us in further contributing to the McCoy program in future years. Thank you.
Well, it's been a while since we had applause, so great job. But thank you all for everything the whole group does. I appreciate the meetings. I appreciate your input on everything we do here. And I really appreciate the attendance of McCoy in all our council meetings over the past year. It's been noticed and appreciated. Thank you. We have a few questions or comments from councilors. If you want to remain seated. Councillor Dogar.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, girls. Great job. Keep it up. Extremely happy. You are our future. Keep connecting. Keep coming. One question I want to ask you, represent a particular school, a particular college here, or you are mixed from, is it any particular school that you represent? Like Holy Trinity or Keanu, or which one you represent?
Through the chair to Councillor Dogar, we come from different schools, so all of us, we represent different schools.
Okay, good enough. Yep. Do you have some instructor of yours, some teacher of yours with you today?
Yes, Nicole is here with us today.
Okay. Okay, well done, instructor. Thank you.
I'd also like to add that Caroline, she's also one of our instructors, so I should also give credit to her.
Thanks. She's on holidays right now, but we'll definitely let her know. Councillor Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. Thanks for coming in and presenting to us and letting us know. Before I was on council, I didn't know that any of this was going on. But I love that the youth are being represented and learning and being active. I love hearing that you're part of the community. I love that you're actively volunteering and getting your voice out there and getting into it. And so thank you so much, and thank you for the offer to come attend the meeting. I'll definitely do that in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Weigel. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair, I know that you get yourselves up and downtown just about every day. You probably spend more time here than most city councilors, and you're heading up with a great bunch of kids. And it does my heart well when you come to council, because when you get out to different provinces and municipalities that I've been privy to over the years, I've never seen something that was set over 27 years ago and still going strong. The McCoy group, I guess the question is this, is how do we showcase what you kids are doing on your own? I know this lady here makes sure you get here safely and getting through the buildings, but what you're doing, you don't represent any schools. You come from a community that has 92 countries of culture gathered in one. And good for you for taking the time, the effort, and I just hope when you graduate and you take the next step. I watched McCoy be a couple of kids through Guy Baudelaire, our mayor, because he never forgot a soul in this community. And the kids were one of them. And as a trustee, I've seen many kids. My question is, think about it. I won't be here, but I hope that when he stand up in 2025 and become a city councillor, because you've received a lot of training here in house, and people put you on the spot, and you're smarter than me when I'm awake, when you're sleeping. So take that and celebrate the country you came to, your parents that support you, and keep on doing the good work. Because, like I said, I know you're in this building more than some, including myself, and that shows me that you are committed, and you don't have your own agenda. You have the agenda of the next generation. I've never seen a group of kids so collective and diverse over my time, 18 years at the school board, 10 years here. I've never seen a bad student in McCoy. I've only seen good ideas that never got listened to. So keep up the good work. And if you don't think, your value to me is not about coming to City Hall. My value to you is to realize that we live in a great community and keep on fighting a good fight. And if you don't think we listen, I think I just had a kind of passed out during your presentation, but I was here when the first kids came. I won't be here when the last kids come, but I hope in 2025, the question is, one of you people, I'd buy your signs to run for council, because I think we need that final road that you want. If you want to be a councillor, it's not all cracked up to what it is, but you can make a difference. You are making a difference already, and I know there's lots of kids that I know that look up to you kids to come down and be a voice for them. So keep up the good fight, and thank you, ma'am. And I know Carolyn, by virtue, looks after the mayor, which in turn looks after the kids. And if you're ever stuck for a ride back and forth, we have lots of people to help you. All right? God bless you, and have a nice summer.
Thank you, Councilor McGrath. Councilor Banjoko?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just want to appreciate our girls tonight representing McCoy. You have inspired me personally, because growing up, I don't think I was able to do what you are doing or what you've done. And you've given so much to the community continuously. So sitting down, I was just wondering if you could share one or two ways that this program has also impacted you personally in your own growth, leadership growth. And why I actually want this is because I know the application is open, and I know and I hope that kids grade 9 to 12 might be watching, so they can hear from you that it's not one-way traffic. Whatever this journey has impacted you as well. I would like for you to share that. Once again, I truly appreciate and admire all that you've done, and also still continuing with your academic works. Thank you. So that's my question to you, maybe in one word each.
Through the chair to Councilor Banjoko, thank you very much. And I would say that for me, joining McCoy has helped me have a further understanding of how decisions are made in the municipality. And it gives me the opportunity to know that my voice is being heard and to see how things are done. Because before I joined, I wasn't really aware of the inner workings of the political world in the municipality. But now that I've joined, I've been able to see that. And it's a great way to give youth opportunities to speak up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Banjoko.
Through the chair to Councilor Banjoko, personally, the way I've been affected in joining McCoy was definitely through communicating to other people about youth perspectives, and also communicating to all of you counselors right here. It's been a very great pleasure this whole year, volunteering and communicating with different people and sharing my ideas with them on the youth perspective. So that's definitely how I've been impacted by McCoy.
Thank you.
Through the chair to Councilor Banjoko, thank you again. And I think personally for me, McCoy has really helped open up my mindset, because I think I used to have a really narrow-minded mindset. I would stick just to one specific, group of friends. I would only hang out with certain types of people, and if anyone had an idea opposed to mine, I was like completely against it. But I think working on McCoy, I was forced to work with students from other schools, students of different age ranges, and also be more involved with other youth in the community who might not be on McCoy. And I think that's really helped me understand that even within the RMWB, even though we're all kind of growing up in a really similar community, there's so many different mindsets that flourish within this place. And there's so much diversity that every single youth has to offer. And I think that comes from everyone's different shared experiences. Because again, we have a lot of different cultural diversity here and whatnot. And I think it's really astonishing to see that even though we all come from different places, and even though we all have different opinions and ideas and perspectives on the world, we're able to work together to make this place better for all of us.
Thank you so much. I think so much to learn from your speeches. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Majoko. Councilor Strad?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman, and through to the presenters. So it appears you got involved with the provincial election. And did you enjoy it? And did you feel you learned from that experience going forward? You can all speak.
Through the chair to Councillor Stroud, I think for us, a big thing was that as youth, we weren't really concerned before about provincial elections. Politics kind of just come and go for us. But I think having someone who was actually involved within the provincial election come to us and talk to us about it, I feel like that made us realize the more significant impact that it has on us and on our families and on everyone who lives here. So, yeah.
Thank you.
And through the chair to Councillor Stroud, just to add to that, I would also say that being able to meet with one of the candidates enabled us to not feel so far away from the provincial elections. Because at times, when you're thinking of certain politics and such, you might feel as though what can you do if you're just a youth? But that opportunity enabled us to feel more closer to it and more involved.
Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Stroud, yes, definitely having a representative from the provincial elections talk about elections to us youth as McCoy, it was definitely informative, and I definitely got to learn a lot more about provincial elections. And also, we also discussed about ways how youth can get involved in the provincial elections. So I definitely found that informative, and I definitely think moving forward with McCoy, we could teach other youth how to get involved with the election and what to know more about it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Stroud. And thank you again for all you guys are doing. It's greatly appreciated for us and the community. And I know the candidate we met with that day is talking head on Teams. He's here today, which he's been here a few times when after meetings, he's able to answer some questions you might have about council meetings. So thanks, Mr. Davis, for helping out that day as well as other council meetings. So again, thanks for all you're doing. And if I don't see you guys next year, hopefully we'll see you in the community. Have a good night.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take a 5-minute break, everyone, before you go on to the next agenda item. Thank you, everyone. We'll resume the meeting here now with Fort McMurray, Wood Buffalo Economic Development and Tourism. Still a mouthful. Present their quarterly update. I'd like to invite Kevin Weilich, Chief Executive Officer and President, to present, please.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council, and all those in attendance this evening and watching online. My name is Kevin Weidlich, and I'm the President and CEO of Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo Economic Development and Tourism. Yeah, that is a mouthful. On behalf of our board of directors and staff, we're pleased to be updating you on our activities from this year to date, basically first quarter to our present time, which is about nearly through all of Q2. For today's presentation, I'll open with a brief report introduction and then move into our economic impact report. And I'll speak to a few initiatives and projects that we've been undertaking this past year, and then close off by answering your questions and providing clarification where needed. So to help frame my update today, I'll briefly recap a few things. Our collaboration and partnerships aim to create a pro-business environment, putting Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo on the map as a destination of choice for business, private investment, talent, entrepreneurship, and innovation. This slide here shows that we're fully aligned with the RMWB Council strategic plan, and so we draw our goals from the FMWB EDT strategic plan, and we have 5 goals. So that's to grow local business and entrepreneurship, support innovation, attract new business and private investment, brand and market our region, and pursue organizational excellence. Not a small undertaking. So in the past quarter, we've executed using major programs and partner collaborations. We've undertaken the annual business planning cycle to identify and verify our programming for this and future years. We undertake our strategy where we have the strategic goals and the key performance indicators in the same manner the municipality does. They remain, and we review our programs and that mix annually. And we established our program baseline measurements in 2022. Measuring the long-term progress of programs actually takes multiple years. And we measure success using 3 top-line KPIs, but many other key performance indicators that are specifically related to each of the programs. The top-line KPIs are program-induced total jobs filled, program-induced new investment or spending, and program-induced formal commitment for development. It's important to mention that we measure the economic impact and the outcomes of the KPIs. And it's the activity of the participants and partners of our programs and the impact that they're having on the economy. We're a not-for-profit organization. We don't generate the revenue or participate directly in the private marketplace. It's our program participants, the partners, the private sector organizations and companies that actually generate the economy. Our role is to rally behind those that do through our programs and partnerships that help them to create new jobs, to fill new jobs, to increase local spending and spur development. This slide is an extract from our 2022 annual report, and you'll see that the program-induced economic impact generated by our program participants roughly equates to about $17.4 million. It's important to mention that we measure the economic impact that they're having, and also that the figure represents a partial assessment of the total economic impact that actually takes place in the region. So we're not measuring the entire region, we're just measuring the impact of certain types of programs that our programs participants participate in. And this slide here shows you where that economic impact was generally coming from, the specific programs. I measured the 3 top-level KPIs in a previous slide. Here are the numbers, and it's pretty interesting numbers. So the program-induced jobs, and I want to emphasize, these aren't just new jobs, they're new jobs filled, which is a big deal because we have a labor shortage. So creating new jobs is important, but creating new jobs and getting them filled is even more important. And that's the exercise that we've been undertaking this past 2 years, so or a year and a quarter. So you'll see in the we started in October of 2022, and the program induced new jobs yielded 101. In the first quarter of 2023, we're at 49, and to date, as of end of May, we're at 103. So we're actually on track for increasing the impact in 2023. So we're going to wind up seeing growth over 2022 of the impact of the programs. Same with program induced new investment spending, the economic impact that I mentioned in a previous slide. In Q1 of 2023, this is, of course, the Parsons Creek Town Center that the council unanimously approved. So again, as the program participant was in fact Allard Developments, who benefited from the marketing that we were undertaking to simply draw it to their attention that there's a business opportunity in Fort McMurray. So that's a pending deal, and they're currently going through the due diligence period. So once that deal is closed, it'll no longer be pending. And the program-induced formal commitment of square footage is essentially new facility development. Might be a new building, could be new office space, could be new shopping center, that sort of thing. So that's the measure that we do. In previous presentations I gave to council, I identified we actually have a shortage of about 950,000 commercial square feet. 950,000. The bulk of this new committed square footage is indeed commercial square feet. So we still have a long way to go. And it's only committed, that is, they signed a deal for a transaction to undertake. There's still construction to happen. There's still a whole process to make. And that will take years. So here's some top-level highlights of work that we've undertaken in the side of this year. We've been working hard behind the scenes on advocacy work related to the extension of Highway 686, along with many others, including this council, related to the extension to bring Highway 686 as an announcement for the construction thereof, and the further twinning of Highway 63. Both of these infrastructure projects strengthen the region's attractiveness on all fronts. Economic transportation corridors expand our market potential. It's that simple. Connectivity is foundational to our growth, and air, rail, highway, and road infrastructure are all important investments and support the diversification and growth of our local economy. We also saw the foundational work from last year to attract commercial development into our region come to life. Council's approval of the Parsons Creek Town Center land sale earlier this year sent a very positive message to investors throughout Canada. And we'd like to thank Council for walking the talk on the importance of creating a pro-business environment. The current developer is undergoing due diligence, as I mentioned. This development will encourage further competition within our region, which is essential for a healthy economy, especially one that needs to grow. And as a region, we have to do everything within our power to ensure that healthy competition happens locally. And so we have to work together to ensure that we recapture the more than $700 million that drives down the highway every single year and is basically leaving our region. I'm convinced that the Parsons Creek Town Center has actually unlocked increased activity in all areas throughout Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo. That includes the downtown and the southern portions of the urban service area. This past May, the municipality proclaimed May 8th to 12th as Economic Development Week in Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo. During this week, communities from around the world celebrate the work of economic development organizations worldwide. We ran a social media information campaign to raise awareness about what economic development and tourism does to create impact. And additionally, we hosted our first annual Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo Tourism Town Hall with stakeholders and rights holders in the region. The town hall gave us the opportunity to showcase local tourism experience operators and businesses who are doing exciting things to attract visitors to our region. Also, this quarter, we were incredibly proud to accept 3 awards in total from the Economic Developers Association on behalf of our region. Our collaboration with Keano College on the student recruitment program received the award for regional collaboration and partnership. This is in very close alignment with the Council's strategic goals on creating partnerships. We also received the Alex Metcalf Award, which celebrates the best of the best among all awards of excellence winners. The region was also recognized for Marketing for Economic Development Outcomes category, highlighting economic development marketing and promotional campaigns with demonstrated measurable outcomes. FMWB EDT partnered with 2 community organizations to bolster perceptions and attitudes towards Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo to reflect the region's authentic identity and spirit. A partnership with the Athabasca Tribal Council increased local and provincial marketing efforts to draw people to their festivals, while the Northeastern Aboriginal Business Association partnership amplified the voices of local Indigenous businesses through marketing the Faces of Entrepreneurship video series. All of these awards celebrate one of Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo's greatest strengths, and that is leaning into community partnerships to get results. Again, that's a council's strategic priority. With that said, I'd like to congratulate our region for being recognized and receiving accolades from our economic development and tourism peers from across Alberta. It's really the community that is driving the economy here. We're just privileged to help. Here's some work that we're doing in progress. There's 2 key programs currently underway, and you'll see QR codes on my screen. So if you're online, please scan the code. Our 2023 household spending survey is currently underway, and we're encouraging stakeholders, rights holders, and residents to complete it. That's the one on the left. We conduct market research on a regular basis because the investment community is interested in the most current information about our market. This data is key input to our commercial and retail analysis, which we're in the process of updating. We shared this updated data. We share the updated data to promote and market investment opportunities to commercial developers and retailers at deal-making conferences, such as the Innovating Commerce Serving Communities Conference that we go to. This is the marketplace for all developers, retailers, franchisees, and businesses like that. The other thing you'll see in the coming days is our People in Profile campaign. In 2021, Economic Development and Tourism and Public Art Wood Buffalo partnered together for the first ever regional pop-up photography tour. The outcome of that is the creation of images and storytelling that we can use to market our region. Well-known local artists Crystal Mercredi and Lucas Seward toured from Fort Fitzgerald to Conklin, capturing the authentic and diverse everyday life of people here in Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo, inviting everyone to be involved in sharing who we are as a place. People in Profile is a glimpse into the lives and livelihoods of people across Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo, as the photos and videos were captured during the region-wide pop-up photography tour that I just mentioned. Welcomed into homes, schools, and workplaces, these profiles reveal the connection between the people and the place that they share. This campaign is one example of how the residents of this region are helping to shape their perceptions and attitudes of what life is really here, and this will go a long way to changing the image and reputation of Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo. It takes the entire community to change the reputation, and so thank you to everyone that has been doing their part. I'll close on that. Thank you very much. I'll leave that slide up, and hopefully people will scan them and either learn more information or provide us with some input. Over to you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Kevin. Did you have any questions from Council? Councillor Dogar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, sir. And Kevin, it's a good presentation, and always I appreciate your competency level, which I have observed. I was also there in the tourism workshop. Very positive steps you are taking. Hopefully the results would be there, positive results. Your job is a fortune changer. I hope you people are successful. Best of luck. Parson Creek development that you got approved is a really positive step. Tourism, of course. I want to ask you one thing. Your arms are the committee which was just before you, Bryce Komka. What is the composition of that committee?
Thank you, Councillor Dogar. I don't have the specific names, but believe you're referring to the Wood Buffalo Development Advisory Committee. Yeah. So this is a council, a committee of council. We're privileged to be involved with that committee in the sense that we have a staff member attend that to ensure that there's continuous communication back and forth in terms of prioritization. And shared alignment of what priorities should be, both in terms of what our organization undertakes and what the committee would like to recommend. So we make sure that the committee has full understanding of the work that we do within the region, and we also listen to any suggestions that they may have and bring that to our board of directors for further exploration.
Thank you very much. Now I'm clear how do you work. What about your people which you have hired for this season, or who
yes.
are paid by you, and what do they do?
Well, thank you, Councillor Dogar, for that question, and to the rest of council. So our organization essentially runs 4 types of businesses, and there are 4 small teams. So the first small team supports business retention and growth, and you'll often see the work of Startup YMM. That's a small team of currently 2 people, and they provide entrepreneurship and business growth services. So they help small businesses within the region to start, scale, and grow their revenue, so they can also in turn create new jobs and grow the economy. That's one. The second one is we support innovation, and we co-chair the Wood Buffalo Regional Innovation Network. So we have, again, a very tiny team, 1 person that supports the Wood Buffalo Regional Innovation Network. In some cases, the employees are double-hatted. And the role of that is to connect local businesses with the Alberta Innovation System and people that want to introduce new innovation into the marketplace with new products, new processes, or new services. The third is, of course, tourism development and support. So there's 2 aspects of tourism. One is tourism development. How do we grow new businesses in tourism and create more businesses so we end up with a thriving tourism industry sector? And then for those businesses that exist, we help to market the entire region as a destination so that new visitors are motivated to come to the region and to do business with the tourism operators. And finally, the 4th business unit is devoted to branding and marketing our region of Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo, which of course ties all 3 of those things together, and that is an undertaking that also addresses the image and reputation of the region. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what each of the employment teams, business units that we have does.
Thank you very much. One question that I've been involved in 2 businesses, trucking business, gravel business, and the taxi business. About these 2, I will come and suggest you how could you improve upon this rules, regulations, certain innovations. So if I can suggest you about my businesses, every businessman can suggest you how to improve their business. I would recommend you also start interview them if you feel appropriate. And secondly, next is your office is very frequently changing. Where is it now?
Yeah, so on the first point, any suggestions are most welcome. We, of course, have programs that are designed to actually draw feedback and input from local businesses. And then, of course, our location is currently in flux because we will, in due course, move into a building on the corner of Biggs Avenue and Main Street. It's currently under renovation, and that renovation will proceed throughout the course of the summer with a view to us moving into it in the fall. So until then, we're in temporary space in Timberley Landing, and we also have some of our staff working out of the Startup YMM location. So in terms of our office space, we're in a transitory period, and when the new office space is completely renovated, we'll be moving in there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Dogar. Councilor Stroud?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman, and thank you, Kevin, for the presentation. So I noticed that you're doing advocacy work for the expansion of 686 and for the twinning of Highway 63. Are you able to advocate for upgrades to Highway 881, as it has all the SAGD projects gravel pits, and hauling of sulfur from the north of Fort McMurray. This highway conditions need upgrading to withstand the volume of heavy traffic.
Indeed. So to the mayor and to all of council, the short answer is yes. So while I did highlight Highway 686 and 63, the twinning thereof is our recent positive announcements. We continue to advocate for Highway 81, and we clearly understand the importance of that and why it's also a regional priority.
Thank you, Kevin. We need all the advocacy that we can get.
Thank you, Councilor Stroud. Any other questions of council? Councilor Banjoko?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Thank you, Kevin, for the presentation. I'm wondering if you have any, or if the public has any opportunity to give you feedback on the things that you're working on.
Yes, indeed. So some of the best ways is simply to contact us through our website. We also regularly provide updates in forums like the Chamber of Commerce and seek input and feedback in those forums. In the fall, we'll be hosting Momentum, and there will be Q&A sessions for our Momentum event, which takes place on October 26th. And also through our Startup YMM work, there is a number of community engagement sessions with entrepreneurs and local business organizations where we basically seek input on programming, and that helps us to refine following year's programming. We follow an annual cycle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Banjoko. Any other questions from council? I'm not seeing any, so thank you, Mr. Wallach. We'll now move on to the public hearing for land use bylaw amendment to redistrict municipal lots located in Ptarmigan Park. Before declaring the public hearing open, I am going to give a quick overview of the process. I will declare the public hearing open, followed by an introduction of the item by administration and questions from council. Then we'll move into written submissions and hear verbal submissions from any speakers present, followed by questions of council. To conclude, we will hear closing statements, then the hearing will be declared closed. I do hereby declare the public hearing open. A public hearing is a legislative process, and in making a decision on the proposed recommendation, council can only consider information received through this hearing. As a reminder for council members, it is important that everyone participate for the duration of the hearing. Should you need to leave the chamber during the public hearing, please call for a point of order and we can take a brief recess. I'd like to invite Such Chandhook, I'll get that right by the end of today, Such, Acting Manager, Community Development Planning, to provide an introduction and opening statement.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Good evening, members of council and senior administration. For the record, my name is Sat Chandiok, Acting Manager of Community Development Planning. I'm here to present a proposal to amend the land use bylaw to rezone lands purchased by the municipality in Ptarmigan Court. Ptarmigan Court was significantly impacted by the 2020 flood. It was determined that the community could not be protected through structural flood mitigation, and so to enhance resiliency, residents were offered the opportunity to do one of the three things: participate in a voluntary buyout program, receive grant funding to raise their homes, or maintain status quo. Of the 69 properties in Ptarmigan, 52 owners opted for a buyout, 3 chose to raise their homes, and 14 chose to maintain status quo. The province gave the municipality $11 million towards this initiative, and as a condition of the agreement signed between the province and the municipality had to take steps to ensure that no further residential or commercial development is allowed on the lands that the municipality purchased. To achieve this, the agreement specifically identified a land use bylaw amendment as a necessary tool, along with registering caveats. Administration's approach was to take as many actions as possible to restrict development on the acquired lands. Because if the municipality fails to adequately restrict development, the province can take back $11 million contribution. We are requesting that council approve this rezoning to environmental preservation as it achieves the level of protection that the province is seeking and allows only low-impact development such as park space to occur. Rezoning to environmental preservation not only recognizes province's expectation, but also the desires of some local residents. Planning and Development Department received 4 letters from residents of Ptarmigan Court in response to this amendment. In addition to stating their support for keeping the area as green space, the residents were very keen on understanding the future plans of the area and want to see creation of amenities like community gardens. After the first reading, the municipality received 3 more letters from residents who have expressed their concerns that changing the zoning to not allow any more residential or commercial development in Ptarmigan Court can make it challenging for them to sell their homes in the future. The residents have also advocated for a buyout program on a similar model to that being considered for Draper. Acknowledging the support from residents, their concerns, and advocacy for another buyout program, the municipality must first put necessary zoning in place to fulfill its obligations towards the agreement with the province, or else risk repaying the province $11 million contribution towards the buyout program. While the municipality is committed to engaging with the residents on future use of the lands purchased by it, Council's decision on this amendment will better inform what can take place on lands and better guide the future engagements with residents. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Do we have any questions from council? Councilor Stroud?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman, and thank you for the presentation. So was this amendment to the bylaw necessary as it is part of the funding agreement between the RM and the government of Alberta? Can you please clarify?
Through the chair to Councillor Stroud, the agreement required municipality to take as many measures to ensure that land does not get developed into a residential or commercial fashion. One of the clauses in the agreement specifically identifies land use amendment as an item that we must undertake to ensure that the land doesn't get developed in residential or commercial fashion. So it is a requirement of the agreement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Stroud. Councilor Dogar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. It's a good presentation. I may tell you, Mr. Mayor, today I was there at the place and about 16 people were there. They had gathered. By the way, municipal rep was there from strategic planning.
Councilor Dogar, right now we're just questions for the presenter. We'll get into it later on for any kind of debate or discussion.
You know, I would, the same man should be here who went from municipality side so that they know the views of the people. Okay, anyhow.
Okay, thank you. And so in future, so this is a requirement as we talk about what the province has provided funding for these buyouts earlier. So if this goes through, this amendment, any future, if a park or whatever was going to be there, would there be community engagement at that time before that park went in?
Through the chair, yes. Municipality has established an internal working group that has been engaging with residents. There will be engagements with the residents surrounding, what could be developed in that spaces that the municipality has acquired. There could be a possibility of park. Our Parks Department has indicated that is a possibility.
Right. So at this time, this would just there wouldn't be able to be any commercial or residential development. Is all this bylaw will change?
Through the chair, yes. Environmental preservation zoning only allows for certain kind of low intensive uses, which includes a park. Commercial or residential activity is not allowed within environmental preservation zoning.
Perfect. Thank you. Councilor Boussier?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Through the chair to the presenter. So at the end of the day, what will the final product look like in Ptarmigan Park? Like, obviously, 16 or 17 homeowners still reside in the area?
Through the chair, as of current, there are 17 homeowners that are in that area that have chosen not to go for a buyout program. Those residents would still reside in the area, that is our understanding. The rest of the area has been, the rest of the lots have been now consolidated. Restrictive covenants have been put into place, and if council approves this EP zoning, more measures surrounding how can that area be developed into a low intensity use could be explored.
Okay, so through the chair, so the residents will have some input or a lot of input into what happens down there regarding the EP zoning?
Through Chair, once the zoning is changed, the kind of activities allowed in the EP zoning, the administration could engage with residents on whichever those activities would be most sort of preferable by the residents.
Okay, so would that mean that we would redo the roads and turn the, I guess, the 52 lots that were vacated grass and clean it up, and it would look much nicer than what's currently there? The roads would be fixed and all that good stuff?
To the Chair, roads has been a question because there are utilities currently that are under those roads. And so to redesign the entire community perhaps is a question that I don't have an answer to. But what I can say from the knowledge that I have as of now, the area, once the zoning amendment goes through, we will engage with residents and we could look at options to beautify the area. The current residents have expressed their desires to develop community gardens in the area, and that could also be a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Boussier. Do we have any other questions from council? I'm not seeing any, so thank you. And have we any written submissions that need to be acknowledged for the record?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Through the chair, we've received 3 written submissions in opposition, which are included in council's agenda package and the agenda package published and available online for members of the public. Rain Eskelson, page 102 of the agenda package, Darcy and Michelle Jenkins, page 103 of the agenda package, and Kim Hurley, page 104 of the agenda package.
Thank you. Do we have anyone registered to make a verbal submission?
Yes, Your Worship, we have 2 registered to make verbal submissions this evening.
So I'd like to invite Lorraine Albert. And just a reminder, just say your name for the record, and you have 5 minutes to present. If you could remain seated for questions, please.
My name is Lorraine Albert, and I live in Ptarmigan Court, Park, whatever you want to call it. I'm in opposition to this change in bylaw because I feel that since I've lived there for the past 17 years or so, it's been nothing but trouble. What with the fire, the 2 floods, and now with this change in bylaw to change it so that I feel like there's no future there for me because I can't sell my property because I owe too much money on it. But also I like living in waterways. I like where I live. I enjoy it. It's beautiful. But I also feel like we've been really ignored there. The roads are in terrible shape. There's no fencing around the whole park. And I feel like after this last high water incident, we were pretty well ignored. And I sent a couple of messages to the Pulse line to ask for to be put in around the park. Not our park, but the park. Lions Park and Howard Hughes, because I caught 3 kids swimming in the river, or the creek, when the water was high. But I also wanted barriers put in because there were barriers put in, those water bubble things were put in waterways and in Grayling. And I wanted to know how come they weren't put in our area. Well, when we met with the guy today, he said, from the city, he said, well, there was no way we could put them in because last time they put them in, they had to put them on top of sandbags, and it was just wasn't feasible. So what I get from that is we're less than the rest of the city. Both my kids live across the river. They have beautiful green spaces. I'll put it straight, their roads are paved. Our roads are all chewed up, whether it comes from all the trailers being hauled out of there or just from not being maintained. So our pavement is all in disarray and the park looks like hell because the grass hasn't grown in yet, so all of that soil is eroding, and I don't feel safe there. Because I don't feel safe because I feel like at any point the city's going to say, oh, this is not residential anymore, Lorraine, you got to move on. But where would I go? And to me, I've been here on and off since 71. And I saw what they call moccasin flats get flattened. I was a kid then. I saw Park Plaza get flattened. I saw Clearwater Trailer Court get flattened. And when I was offered that buyout, I thought about it, but I would be $60,000 short on my mortgage, which means I would be, number one, homeless and still paying a mortgage. I'm 66 years old. I'm not going to work till I'm 100 years old. I won't last that long. But I think about it and I think, wow, you know, this is how Fort McMurray historically has treated a lot of our people. Because a lot of the indigenous people in this town lived down there by the Snai when it was bulldozed in Park Plaza and Clearwater. And that really hurts me because I'm asked to come and pray for the municipality. I sit on a task force. I'm a volunteer with Search and Rescue. I do a lot for this city. I put my life at risk, and I'm older. And to me, I do a lot for this city, and I want something back. I don't want to be pushed out of my home. Right now, the value of my home is even less than what I still owe on my mortgage. And I can't afford to move out. I can't afford to, well, I don't even know if anybody will buy it. So, you know, I'm really stuck. And I'm asking all of you, like, I'm really grateful to be sitting here for the opportunity to present here. But I'm asking all of you to think about it. If I was your grandmother or your mother, would you be forcing your mom out? Think about all those people camped out on that, what is it, King Street now? They were all camped out in front of Center of Hope. Now they're all 1 block away. Homeless people. Do you want to see me coming out of a tent there? You know, that's what I have to say. And I'm really, really upset about where this is all going because I never saw this coming. After the fire, our place didn't burn, we didn't flood. And I thought, wow, we're the chosen ones, you know, the lucky ones that didn't have to go on. And I don't know what else to say because I know my 5 minutes is probably coming up. But I'm really grateful to be sitting here, and I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to say what I have to say. I could sit here and talk all night about it, but I want you all to know I'm a person, I'm an elder. Where can I go? Honest to God, where can I go now when I have nowhere else to go? And I'm grateful where I live. I'm grateful to Creator. My place never burnt and we didn't flood. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Elder Albert. And we all appreciate all the work you do in the community. I see you at almost every event and appreciate everything you do. What would you like to see happen here?
Well, number one, I don't want it turned into a park because we've got a big park right behind us and we've got another park at Lions Park. I don't want that to happen.
Right.
And I want the place, I want to just live in peace.
Okay. And so what I think, and what they're proposing on this change, I don't think it would affect the houses that are there. I think you'll remain residential, your place. I think only thing they're referring to is the places that have been vacated. And then as I asked administration there, any changes that would come there, we would make sure there's a community engagement to see what you wanted in there, whether it was a garden or whatever you would like to see in that green space that was created.
Yes, but because when I think about the change, and I think, like, if I can't ever sell and get out of there, well, obviously I'd sell at a big loss. But where does that leave me?
Maybe it's a question for administration on the remaining lots that are, planning? With the remaining lots that are residential, does this land use designation change those lots? No, the lots that are occupied right now remain residential. They won't change your designation at all. It's just the empty lots will be changed into non-residential and commercial, so that we could go back to the community, the residents that are there, and see what you want to do with that space. So it's not left to grow in, or the land's not corroded. We could change it into a green space for you.
Well, it would really do a lot of good to clean up the area too, because we've been neglected for too long.
And I think this also gives us a chance to do that, make sure it's cleaned up, and also come to you for community engagement on what you want to see in that space.
Thank you.
Thanks. Do you have any other questions from council? Councillor Ball?
Thank you, through the chair. Where'd you go? I guess my one question for you, Elder Albert, is do you anticipate the land, or you don't want the land developed as a park space that would be, say, like a programmed park space where you might have a soccer game or a football game or something like that, but you'd be open to something that is just a green space that's open and clean and tidy kind of thing. Is that what I understand from you?
Yes, with limitations, because if it turns into like a dog park or something like that, there's a lot of dog parks around. We don't need another one of those.
Yeah, I can hear that. I guess my question would be to such then, under the EP designation, I mean, typically that's
Councillor Ball, we'll be back. Councillor Ball, we'll go back to councillors for to questions of administration after Elder Albert's finished here.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Councillor Dogar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just telling that today I was there, about 15, 16 people, all had half an hour discussion. Municipality rep was also there from strategic planning. End of the result was they unanimously said, we want more time for consultation.
Okay, Councillor Dogar, the questions right now for Elder Albert?
No, I want to support her. But all she said, I have listened to 15, 16, they have the same opinion.
There'll be a time for debate and discussion after, but just right now, it's just her time to answer questions.
Fine. She spoke very well.
Councillor Benjoko?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Thank you, Elder, for all you do. And it's really touchy when you asked if we would ask a mom or a grandmother to leave and not know where they're going. So that's not something we want to do. So my other question, and you talked about the neglect of the community. You talked about cleanup. I haven't been there, so I don't know about the roads. So apart from cleanup, what other thing will make you live there peacefully? Because I think from what we've heard, the residential houses will remain, and you can continue to live there, hopefully.
Well, for me to live peacefully there, like all this stress drives me crazy. Like I don't like every year having to deal with changes and things that are out of my control. But I think that at the bottom line is, I think we need more time to think this out, and before you go ahead and approve it, because if you go ahead and approve it, it's not going to be a good thing. Because is this the final reading or is this the first reading?
This here's the hearing, so this goes through today. But like you said, I think what you're asking for, for any kind of a change that comes forward, whether it's like you talked about, you don't want a dog park. I think we have enough dog parks, and what the use of it, that there will come back to the residents to ask what you want to see there. And what that engagement will tell the municipality what to do with that space, whether it's cut the grass, make it look nice and leave it like that, or it's, like I said, having a community garden, whatever the community engagement for just Ptarmigan Park, what you want to see in your neighborhood, that will come back for you.
So no decision is being made today?
Today is basically going back to the places that are not occupied, that were bought out. Those places there, this decision is designating those. They're not residential, so people can't build on those spaces.
Understood.
Councilman Joko, do you have another question?
No, I think she answered the question.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes.
Do we have any other questions from council? I'm not seeing any, so thank you, Lorraine, appreciate it.
Thank you.
And next we have Laura Wanyandy. And just a reminder, just to say your name for the record, and you have 5 minutes to speak. If you can remain seated for questions, please.
Is this on? Thank you, Mayor Bowman and council members. So I'm here also on behalf of my husband who's out of town, and I'm with Lorraine Albert is our neighbor, and we are totally against the amendment, first of all, of the redistrict municipal lots in Ptarmigan Park from manufactured home residential to environment preservation district. I have a couple questions regarding that. But since I've heard the presentation and Lorraine, I have another question also. But I would like to know, my husband and I declined on the purchase, on RMWB purchasing our property. But I want to know, with this new amendment, obviously it went in once before, but the amendment on this redistrict, what does that mean for us as the landowners that are currently there? Because as I understand, we cannot develop or do anything with our properties right now. I don't know if we can even sell it. So I have questions on what's really going to happen there as a landowner, and I live there. So we've lived there for many, many years, and we're quite happy there. And it seems like we're being bullied to either sell or get out of Dodge kind of thing. So I want to know, what does that mean for us as landowners when you're going to be changing this from a manufactured home residential area to an environmental preservation district? And also, one other question before I go
Any
is...
questions? You can finish your presentation first, Laura, and then we can go to questions afterwards.
Okay. And as the gentleman who did the presentation said that he had a conversation with the homeowners regarding what the properties were what the land was going to look like. I don't recall that ever happening. And why was our area picked? Why our area? Those are my questions.
Okay, thank you, Laura. First, do we have any questions from council for the presenter? I'm not seeing any, but I think I can try to touch on your questions, Laura. Yeah, actually, that's probably better than me trying to ad lib and let him answer. Such if you would take the mic.
To the chair, thank you for the opportunity to respond. I'd like to address both the questions. The first one is the conversation surrounding the land use amendment. As a part of the amendment process, typically there's a community outreach, which was also done in this case. Letters were sent out to the residents of the Ptarmigan Court, and residents were requested to provide their feedback on the zoning amendment. As a part of the amendment process, 4 residents responded back to the amendment, and we received some positive response in there, of course, with concerns surrounding property values and as such. The second question regarding why the area was picked, the municipality has not picked the area. It is an agreement between the provincial government and the municipality through which buyouts were supported in Ptarmigan Court. One of the conditions of that agreement was that whatever land municipality is buying, we ensure that there's no residential or commercial development on that land. And municipality is just trying to follow through that agreement. One of the tools to ensure no development happens in the area is by changing the zoning of the vacant lands. So as a point of clarification, as your worship alluded, the municipality is not changing the zoning of existing residential lots that are occupied in the area. It's only the vacant lands that the municipality has purchased where the zoning amendment is going to take place, should the council approve it. This is basically just to support the agreement. I would also like to put on record that as part of the agreement as well, the province required municipality to put caveats on land for no residential or commercial development, which have already been done. And so as such, any vacant lots that have been bought out by the municipality would not be able to have residential or commercial development. The idea is to keep the area as low density as possible. And municipality is just following up on that agreement with the province. Thank you.
Thank you, Sach. I don't know if that answers your questions, Laura?
Well, I just would like to know why low density? I mean, why would you want to keep it low density? I don't understand that, because you've already built up, I don't know what you call them, so there is no more, well, if there's going to be a flood, it won't be as bad as it was, but myself and our neighbors to the right of me are not in the flood zone, but I'm not, if you're turning it into environmental park or whatever it is, what's going to happen if it floods? Like, what are you going to do with that land? You know, like, it doesn't really make sense to me that you would put such restrictions on us, you know? I mean, we live there, and like my neighbor said, if we are basically kind of forced out, like, where are we going to go? You know, my husband's born and raised in Fort McMurray, and when we bought that land up 10 years ago, we never ever thought that this kind of stuff would be happening to us. I know Plaza 2 had happened to those people, but those people didn't own the land. We own our land, so.
So I think some clarity as well, Ms. Wanyandi. The land that we're talking about is the land that the rmwb owns currently, because that was purchased in the buyout. That's the only land that's being changed. The residential properties that you own, that Ms. Albert owns, this doesn't change your designation of your land at all.
But are there stipulations on what we can and cannot do with our land now that this environmental park is coming in?
Maybe Such can answer this, but I don't think this changes your designation of your land.
Through Chair, the zoning amendment does not change anything for the residents. The kind of development activities that were previously allowed on the lands that the residents still own would still be allowed. You would still be allowed to exercise all the uses or have all the use that are currently allowed in the land use bylaw for that zone on your property. So in essence, it's only going to affect the property that municipality owns. It's not going to have an effect on the property that individual property owners own in the area.
So then we are still allowed to sell if we want?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's primarily all I wanted to know, because I had questions and I was very uncertain about this amendment that was going through. So
I'm glad that we could help you, Mrs. Wanyandi. Do you have any other questions from council for the presenter? Councillor Stroud.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman, and thank you for presenting, Laura. So do you have the same concerns as Lorraine in that the roads need to be upgraded and a fence put around, you know, just to make it safer?
Absolutely. The roads are really, they're not good in the winter, they're not good in the summer. I know I've had to call RMWB because the green belt in the back has totally neglected. It looks terrible. I had to call them and ask them to please come and cut the grass. So I agree with Lorraine that we have been neglected and kind of overlooked. So I don't know why that's happening because, you know, this is our property, our home.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Councilor Stroud. Councilor Cardinal?
Thanks, Laura. You were saying that there wasn't, I guess Lorraine was mentioning it as well. You were saying that there's no consultation or maps provided what was happening to the green space?
No. We did have people coming by a couple years ago to explain, but I don't think it was explained in detail on what it is right now. So this is really something new to us, to me anyhow, me and my husband. And I understood that they were, okay, the municipality wants to purchase your homes. They didn't say what they were going to do with the land. They just gave us 3 options. So we understood that. And, but it was not in great detail what was going to happen and when it was going to happen. So it's kind of surprising right now.
I guess the next question would be, do you feel that, a little more consultation needs to be addressed regarding this matter with you guys?
Well, as long as it's not going to affect, I'm still kind of unsure on what's going to happen in the future here, because it seems that things are happening quite quickly now, and I'm just kind of unsure on how that's going to affect us. Let's say, like we're going to be elders here pretty soon. Like, we want to know what our future is going to be if we decide to stay, and we want to have that option if we can. We don't want to be, oh, by the way, we're going to, you're going to have this great big park, environmental park here. That's kind of the uncertainty we're facing right now. We just want to put our minds at ease. Everybody likes to look to the future, and like, we're in a different phase in our life right now. So this is the phase in the future that we're looking at right now, and we want to know, is it going to be good, or is it going to be something that's going to broadside us? So that's all I want to know.
So just through the chair, for clarity, there are this proposal, this change in designation has no impact on your property now or into the future. As Mr. Chenhook described, those rights for use of your property will remain for the length of time that you own that property. There's no plan on part of the municipality to change that. The only plan on the part of the municipality is to redistrict the areas that the municipality owns, and then start the process of engagement with the community about what those pieces, what that land becomes, whether it's parkland, allotment gardens, whatever the case may be. But for that to happen, that we need to, and to satisfy the agreement with the province, we do need to move forward with the redistricting.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say, Paul, I understand that, but there's some residents that have been there 50 years, and for them things to be changed without taking the time to consult with them and address their concerns. I mean, it's still their area. It's like Lorraine said, she's been there for so many years, and it's really it really hinders their.
Sorry, Councilor Cardinal. Councilor Dogar has left. We have to take a brief recess to reconvene the hearing. So we'll resume in a few minutes.
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. Mrs. Wandy, I just want to thank you again for your presentation and coming with the questions. Thank you. For council, is there any other further questions of council to administration? And as a reminder, once the public hearing is closed, no more questions or information gathering can occur.
I had a question for administration.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah.
I don't recall getting a map of the. I guess I've seen the houses. I just wanted to ask. Okay, there we go. Okay. I guess the question to the administration is: so the existing trailers are just going to remain there, and they're just going to work around it, or is it just a main spot in the middle that's going to be a green space? And I'm hearing, I guess, yeah, that's the first question. Sorry.
Through the chair, if I may. The map on the screen currently has hatched area that identifies the area that's going to be rezoned. Everything that's identified in yellow boundary are the residential lots, and they're going to stay as is with all the rights in their place. Only the area that has been bought out by the municipality that's identified in red boundary hatched is going to change to environmental preservation zoning. So to answer Councillor Kendrick's question, there's going to be no impact on the residential lots. It's only the municipal land that has been bought out by the municipality that is going to see some kind of positive change in terms of developing that space into a parkland or something like that.
I guess the next question is, can we buy a little more time for the residents to, follow up, since they're starting to get to know more and more about it with administration and just administration? Is that doable?
Through the chair to Councillor Cardinal, while it's possible for council to refer this back to staff, that does pose some risk to the municipality in terms of the agreement that exists with the province. That's very clear that this work has to be undertaken. We have reassured residents that their properties are not impacted by the change to the zoning, to the environmental area. And reassured the residents that any work towards developing it as parkland or some use that's appropriate under its new designation would be only undertaken with engagement with that neighborhood to ensure that anything that's done is in alignment with their expectations. Council will be saddled with having to make this decision and move forward with this redistricting at another time, and there wouldn't be any changes to what's being proposed if we were to do a re-engagement with community members now. The real change that would come to the neighborhood is yet to come once this zoning is in place. And we can, as I've said, undertake that engagement to ensure it's done in alignment with the expectations of that neighborhood.
Okay, next question would be, I know that we're able to, put it over to another date. I understand that the Alberta government has been saying, you've been mentioning, everybody's been mentioning the Alberta government. Is there any way that we could be able to engage with them to see if they're able to reset their timeline? Because I know we're able to do it. I'm sure they're able to do it as well, just to accommodate some of the requests and, maybe let the residents be heard a little bit, and maybe go with what the residents would like, as opposed to what the administration wants and what the Alberta government wants. Let's listen to the people.
Chris Davis, Legal Services, through the chair, and to respond to Councillor Cardinal. The funds provided by the province for the buyouts were stipulated to come with multiple conditions. One of the conditions was the registration of a restrictive covenant on all the parcels that were purchased to limit their use to non-residential, non-commercial use. So in effect, what council's getting tonight and what's being requested is part two of really the same thing. We used to call it belt and braces. We got two approaches that are effectively doing the same thing, but the government wanted them. So we've already done the restrictive covenant. So the fact that the lots that are before you tonight are already restricted exists and it is a fact. And this is the second part of the belt and braces approach. So really all that's before you tonight is part two of a two-part protection that the provincial government mandated as part of the commitment to provide the $11 million in funding for the purchase of the lots. It's up to council if it wishes to defer for further engagement. However, this is a public hearing, and if you defer, you may have to reopen the public hearing and or re-advertise it in the circumstances. So that's a council decision.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cardinal. Councillor Ball.
Thank you. Through the chair, can you pop that map back up? I can't see it. It's very small. Can you make it bigger? There we go. So my question I guess I'll start with you, Such. When we look at this, we keep talking about a park, and I can see where the residents might have some confusion. Is very fractured, right? It's a whole bunch of little pieces here, there, and everywhere. Would it not make sense sometime down the road, doesn't have to happen today, obviously, but we start consolidating them? And if we look to the property to the, I don't know if this thing is, we'll pretend it's facing north, but the property on the east, it's adjacent to environmental protected already. Consolidate that becomes one green space over there. And then where you have Parkview Drive and Primrose Lane, you don't have any properties on those. Is the intention at some point in time to remove that road infrastructure where you only have Paradise Road and Pelican Drive? So it starts to make a little bit more sense that they are truly one space versus a whole bunch of little fractured green spaces. And I know you put the restrictive covenants on it, but would you be able to further that by putting some kind of restrictions on the property where it wouldn't be a programmed space, it would just be truly an open green space versus a programmed space where, where you could put a playground or a ball diamond or whatever?
Through the chair, if I may, to Councillor Ball, as you may already see on screen, the lots have already been consolidated. In legal terms, consolidation would take away the property lines. And similar to how you see lots in yellow, there are no property lines between this area here from 33 to 15. Similarly, there are no property lines between 1 to 12 here, 11 to 26. So lots in the legal terms, through the process of consolidation, have already been consolidated. As for changing it to a park that really doesn't have anything, that can happen with engagement with the residents. I mean, one of the ideas could just be, and I'm just speaking from my own experience here, this would definitely happen after engagement with residents, could be to develop this road that you see here where you do not have any lots, develop that as a trail and develop the entire area as one park space. There could be a multitude of options which could be explored after the zoning amendment takes place. However, given the current situation, RMH zoning does not necessarily allow for park spaces to occur. It's a residential zoning. For us to exercise the authority to be able to go back and develop some kind of a park system there, the zoning amendment would need to happen.
Okay. No, thank you. No, and I appreciate that. I understand that, but I understand that they've been consolidated, but they're still somewhat block form. If you look at, I think it's lots 14 through, I can't see the map, 14 through 24, they're adjacent to a land that's zoned EP. That could become one lot. It could be consolidated over there. And if you were to create trails and whatnot, you could create new lots in there. So that's just my thought. So that it right now it just reads as a fractured, broken little green spaces dotted all over in amongst the road system that's there. That's all.
Through the chair to Councillor Ball, I think what you've raised is a really relevant question that the community is asking. And so council has heard that there will be a plan coming forward. There has to be. Ultimately, as a municipality, we're liable to maintain to a municipal standard of service on all the roads. And if it is deemed to be a cost burden to continue to maintain Parkview Drive, for example, when there's no one living there, then it would be useful to come back with a plan to council and a budget in order to redevelop this site, close some of the roadways, go through a road closure before council, where the community would have the ability to have input as a public hearing on any road closure. There will be a process that legally brings the community in and makes their voice heard before this council. But none of that is before you today. This is a continuum of approach to address the flood mitigation for this community, and I think administration fully appreciates the concerns raised tonight by the residents. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I fully understand that. I'm just trying to help the residents understand it a little bit, but thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ball. And just Mr. Davis, Mr. Such, just for clarity, and correct me if I'm wrong, this change doesn't affect any of the residents that own homes there right now.
Through the chair, it does not.
Right, and what it does affect is basically put into position the RMWB's owned lots that were purchased previously for us to then, after we have this process done, we then can extensively engage with the community members that live there on what they want to see in their neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Banjoko?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman, and thanks for the elaborate discussion. With the presentation from the two residents that are here, I'm just wondering if there's any way we can reach out and ensure that the residents have clearer understanding of what we're about to do. Because I think there's a disconnect. You've had engagement, but perhaps maybe a different kind of engagement, or I don't know, written information that can go round to homeowners to address the fears of the community. Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Banjoko, we would certainly reach out to any concerned community members about what the future of this looks like following the redistricting to ensure that they're comfortable in understanding what's happened and comfortable in understanding what their involvement in any future plans for the area are.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Banjoko. Councillor Boussier?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Bowman. Just looking at that map, and it's probably a moot point, but did we offer up the residents that didn't take the buyout an opportunity, and not saying that any of them wanted to, but to relocate their manufactured home to a different location in that area? Was that something that was maybe offered up to the folks that remained?
Through the chair, I'm not versed with that process. From the knowledge that I have, there were three options that were made available to the residents. The first one was a buyout. The second one was to lift their homes. And the third one was status quo. Those were the three options that were offered to the residents. In order to relocate a home, the municipality, it would be a private transaction between two property owners, wherein the first property owner would have to purchase the lands of the second property owner and then relocate. So it wouldn't be something that municipality would typically get involved in. Relocation, if any, on municipal lands would only happen after the municipality has acquired those lands, which at that point had not happened.
So I guess through the chair, has there been an opportunity now that we own the land? And again, I'm just me speaking. I don't know if anybody would want to move, but maybe someone on Tolan would like to back onto the river.
Through the chair, I don't think there has been a program that has been talked about as yet.
Through the chair, I'd have to go back and look at the reports, but my recollection was there was an investigation about whether or not there could be a redesignation of some of the lands up in Sapre, and to see whether they might be interested in moving to an area completely away from this flood zone. And I don't believe that there was much interest, just because it would be so different from this community. The community, because of its location, proximity to the river, et cetera, I don't recall there was a lot of interest in that kind of relocation, but I'd have to go back and look at the reports to confirm it.
Okay, through the chair to Chris, sorry, I was just talking about this particular location. Chris, let's say I own 39
Oh, I
Paradise
see, you're just
Road.
saying move within the site.
Yeah, if I would have been offered an opportunity, because I back onto a busy street, if I had an opportunity to move to backing onto Saline Creek or Hanging Stone, I would jump it. Personally, I would, but, so I guess to help maybe, because like Councillor Balls mentioned, it's a bit of a jigsaw right now, but if there was an opportunity for maybe some of the folks, and I'm not saying they want to move, but is that going to be an option for them?
Through the chair, it would be in breach of our agreement with the province, because it was very strict. Once we acquired the lands using provincial money, the lands then have to not be used for redevelopment. So strictly speaking, we would have to go back to the province if we had a plan. I'm not saying we couldn't do it, but we would have to have a very clear plan about what was going to be moved and why it would be beneficial, and how we're actually moving. For example, just for speculation, 26, 32, and 34, if they were going to move further up above the geodetic that the river was at, maybe that would be something the province would be open to. But currently, under our current stipulations, we could not offer up the lands for a swap.
Okay, yeah, I was just thinking about the residents, if there was an opportunity, and maybe none of them want to move, maybe they're content where they are there, but I just thought maybe it's something that when we engage with them, or someone can speak to the province. And the last question I have is, well, they got it labeled Park Place. Now, that used to be a storage or secondary parking, or I don't know what it was used for, and I don't know if it was the folks from Ptarmigan Park that used it, or if it was used by other folks in Waterways, but I see we're taking that away from the residents, and we're zoning that green space. Is there an option to leave that for them?
Through the chair, that location, this area, this is already a road plan. So we're not rezoning. The area that is identified on this map as Park Place is a road plan. So we're not redesignating that area. For us to redesignate that area, we will have to formally close the road, bring it in front of council, and then it gets converted into a lot. And at that point, it can be zoned. At this point, the area that's identified as Park Place is essentially just road.
I think there's a trailer that goes into this area.
And I think Kelly Hand, Strategic Planning, could add to that, your question as well, Lance.
Sure. So what I could add is, historically, through the chair to Councillor Bussier, when the decision was taken to originally put forward the voluntary buyout program or the home raising for community members of Ptarmigan Court, the conversation was explored around potential for them to relocate within the park. However, ultimately, based on resident feedback and in alignment with the agreement that was being put forward by the government of Alberta, it wasn't something that we moved forward with. Chris is absolutely correct. There was a consideration for the availability of possible relocation to other parts of the region, and that wasn't something that was picked up by residents. The rationale for not being able to, off the top of my head, not being able to allow residents to consider land swaps within Ptarmigan Court was based on, it was dependent, it wouldn't allow for equitable decision-making for each of the residents.
I can't even it out, but so the red.
It wouldn't allow for the equitable decision-making of residents, because it would be dependent on one person choosing to leave and then another having the opportunity to potentially consider to take their lot. I hope that helps provide a little bit of clarity, but it was explored.
Okay, so just going back to my other question, and maybe one of the residents might, isn't Park Place, don't people park cars and Okay.
Through the chair to Councillor Bussier, if you look at the site, it's a keyhole roadway, and there appears to be, I'm going to say, encroaching elements, maybe trailers that are parked on titled parcel. So we're redesignating titled parcel. The roadway stays the same. It's an informal recreational RV parking area. I'm not sure that that fits within our streets and transportation or roads and transportation bylaw, but apparently this is the historical use. And that would remain, however, to the extent that one of the trailers seems to be parked on municipal land, that's probably in breach or trespass. It's an enforcement issue that exists, but as such, Chandiok points out, the road plan itself remains, and so most of that functional area that they're using for trailers and parking still remains.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bussier. Councilor Grandison?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is just simple. Even if something was going to be done, even if plans were going to be put in place, we're talking several years here, aren't we? Where this isn't going to happen this summer or next summer. I mean, by the time this gets done and then planning is put in place and consultation is done with the community and budgets are all approved, we're probably talking a few years now, right? So,
Through the chair, I do not have a timeline on how long would it take for an actual park to get developed there. From an administration's perspective, I can assure is that we can try to get it done as quickly as possible.
well, I'm actually, the basis of my question is the exact opposite, just in allowing people an opportunity to grow accustomed to their new environment, that the municipality has no intention of charging in tomorrow and making a bunch of changes, that this will be a process that will occur, is basically what I'm getting at.
Through the chair, absolutely. It'll be a process.
Thank you, Councilor Grandison. Councilor Dogar?
And thank you, sir, for giving me the chance. As I told earlier, my question is to Chris that if somebody has to be in hurry, the residents has to be they are the stakeholder to be get ready. They unanimously told me, 15, 16 people, that we want more time for consultation. Do we lose anything?
Through the chair, as I mentioned to previously, it's always council's option to take in further information. If council believes that further consultation about the land use amendment, this redesignation, will be helpful to the residents, that's council's decision. It will require, presumably, that the public hearing be reopened if there's new information that needs to be brought for council as a result of that additional consultation. So if council was to do that, I would recommend that the public hearing not be closed and be remaining open, and that the consultation occur, and when it's concluded, that the matter be further re-advertised or notified. It may not require, we're using our website now, I understand, and we would have the matter brought back to council and new information will be brought forward at that time.
Thank you very much. But this reply you already gave. My question is, do there any chances of funds being lapsed or taken away by the province? That 11 million you said that they're approved.
So, if I may, through the chair. So I want to make sure council's clear on a process of returning this for additional consultation, because the issues that are being raised for consultation are not germane to the redistricting issue that's before you. They are germane to what the future uses may be, but that isn't part of what will be presented to council as part of this application, and wouldn't be part of what we would engage the community on if this was sent back for further engagement. It would just be to continue the discussion about this redistricting only. All those other issues are important and significant and very important to the neighborhood, and we certainly recognize that. That is part of future steps. That's part of future work that I think Councillor Grandison sort of alluded to, that's down the road and will take some time to undertake, including council through the budget process, dedicating funds and priority to doing that work. So I just want to make sure that that's really clear to council, that going back for more engagement is just going to be on this very narrow topic of the redistricting, not the broader issues that are of significant concern. To Councillor Dogar's question around the risk of provincial funding, there's always that risk if we don't move forward in a timely way. Now, it's obviously taken time. Regardless, I think council will see this come, if this was to be referred back, we would bring back the same information. We wouldn't be able to engage the community on engagement on those issues that community members have significant concerns about, again, because we'd be on this narrow topic, and we would be back where we are in a number of months' time, delaying the process and delaying the opportunity for us to get to the next steps, which is really building a neighborhood for the community that's more appropriate and more attractive.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dogar. Councilor Stroud?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. And this question is to the CAO or assessor. Unsure if this question can be answered, but would this bylaw amendment affect the property value of the designated residential lots?
To the chair, to Councillor Stroud. So it depends what they're gonna build with the park. Definitely having a park, approximately better view, nicer environment, those could add to the properties around the park. But when the park will be built, I'm not sure, so thanks.
Well, I think even the repairing of the roads, the cutting of the grass, putting a proper fence around would definitely help. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Stroud. And again, just to reiterate, this amendment will not affect the properties that are owned by residents.
To repeat the statement from Mr. Such, again through the chair, no.
Thank you. And the land right now that we're discussing is land that's owned by the RMWB through the buyouts. What do we do with the land? What have we done with that land since that time when it was bought out? That's open to anyone that can answer that.
I think through the chair, I'll start, and I think Such may reply, as might Kelly. But the lands were allowed to have for some of the owners to remove some of the fixtures. The remaining buildings were removed. Some of them were repurposed. Some of them were conveyed to Wood Buffalo housing.
Sorry, I think I'm just talking about the empty lots right now that have been empty since they've taken the trailers and everything off there.
Yes, and remediated modestly in that any open areas were leveled. They haven't been reseeded or sodded. There, I don't think, has been any significant remediation done. So the area does need to probably have some TLC going forward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Davis. Do you have any other questions of administration? I'm not seeing any. Does administration have any closing comments?
Through the chair, thank you for this opportunity to provide closing comments. As your worship alluded to, this zoning amendment is not going to affect the residents that are already living on their residential parcels. It is only to rezone the lands that municipality has acquired through the buyout process. Something to consider here is that the lands that municipality has already acquired already have restrictive covenants in place that allude to the fact that there cannot be any residential or commercial development on that land. While administration absolutely appreciates the concerns that residents have, something that's also important is that province has gotten into an agreement with the municipality through which it is municipality's obligation to rezone these lands to a zone that does not allow for residential and commercial development. Environmental preservation being one such zoning absolutely meets that criteria, and administration is only requesting to rezone it to a zoning that would satisfy the conditions put forward in the agreement by the province. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Such. Councillor Cardinal?
Thanks. Question from, I just thought of this question. Have we, can we have that in writing and sent to the homeowners? Exactly what you just said there. I think they need to hear that on paper, and maybe it'll give some more clarity and what's the word I'm looking for? But anyways, just more clarity towards them, and because I know that that's their concern is you know, they're really thinking that they're going to get ousted somehow. So I think that we need to be clear and provide that message in writing to them. I really recommend that. Thanks.
Through the chair to Councillor Cardinal, as I mentioned, I think in response to Councillor Banjoko, we'll undertake some work to make sure that we meet individually with concerned residents to make sure that they understand what's changed, what hasn't changed, and then some sense of what the process looks like going into the future. Again, hasn't been established, it's not set. There's much work to be done, but certainly reassure them about that there's no direct impact on their properties as part of this process.
Thank you, CEO. Thank you, Councillor Cardinal. Thank you. Now I'll declare the public hearing closed. Coming out of public hearing, we now have second and third readings of bylaw number 23/008, land use bylaw amendment, redistrict municipal lots in Ptarmigan Court from manufactured home residential to environmental preservation district for council's consideration. Can I have someone make the motion for the second reading of bylaw number 23/008? Councillor Grandison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that bylaw number 23/008, being a land use bylaw amendment to redistrict municipal lots in Ptarmigan Court from manufactured home residential district RMH to environmental preservation district EP, be read for a second time.
Thank you, Councillor Grandison. Can I have someone second that motion? Councillor Weigel.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any other comments or debate points of council? Not hearing any. I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And opposed? I think it's carried with one opposed. Thank you. Can I have someone make the motion for the third reading? Councillor Grandison.
I move that bylaw number 23/008 be read a third and final time.
Thank you. And have someone second that motion? Councillor Banjoko.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I second the motion.
Thank you. Are there any comments or debate points from council? For me, I'm going to make, just to reiterate one thing, is that this bylaw change isn't going to affect any of the residential properties that exist there now. And the restriction is already on the properties that we're making the amendment on. That restriction already has been there since they were bought out, so that's not going to change that. And we'll definitely have a lot of further and extensive consultation with the community before we do anything, changes to that land around your homes. So if there's no other comments or debate points, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And opposed? And it's carried with one opposed. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. We're going to take a 10-minute break before we move on, everyone, to give everyone a rest here. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We'll now move on to the public hearing, the land use text amendment for home business and home business occupation definitions. Before declaring the public hearing open, I'd like to again provide a brief overview of the process. I'll declare the public hearing open, followed by an introduction of the item by administration and questions from council. Then we'll move on to written submissions and hear verbal submissions from any speakers present, followed by questions of council. To conclude, and we will close the hearing. Statements. Then the hearing will be declared closed. I hereby declare the public hearing open. A public hearing is a legislative process, and in making it on a decision and proposed recommendation, council can only consider the information received through the hearing. As a reminder for council members, it is important that everyone participate for the duration of the hearing. Should you need to leave the chamber during the public hearing, please call for a point of order and we can take a brief recess. I'd like to invite Such Chandahuk, Acting Manager, Community Development Planning, to provide an introduction and opening statement.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, members of council and senior administration. For the record, my name is Such Chandahuk, Acting Manager of Community Development Planning. I'm here to present a proposal to amend the land use bylaw to better address inconsistencies in the rules for home business and home occupations. There are currently two ways planning and development facilitates running a business out of a home business and a home occupation. The main difference between the two is essentially that a home business allows customers to visit home, an example of it could be a barbershop, and a home occupation does not, in which case it could just be a home office. The land use bylaw carefully regulates these to minimize the impact on neighboring properties and in order to protect people's use and enjoyment of their properties. In 2018, a series of amendments were made to the home business and home occupation rules. One of those rules identifies the kinds of activities that are not allowed as home businesses or home occupations. This includes uses that are more likely to impact neighborhood, such as an adult entertainment store, a large restaurant, a large retail store, and automotive businesses. Currently, there are three kinds of automotive businesses in the land use bylaw, and one of them was missed from the list of uses that cannot be permitted as a home business or a home occupation. This created a loophole that should be closed. This issue was discovered when staff received a home business application for an automotive business. There were a number of discussions with concerned neighbors and other automotive businesses that were operating from commercial locations. After these discussions, the municipality committed to closing this loophole. We are therefore requesting council to approve adding the use automotive and equipment repair to the list of activities not allowed as home business or home occupation. This will not only address public's concern, but will result in a more consistent approach to the decision making and reduce confusion for the business community. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from council? Councillor Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. And I might have missed it in the reading, but is if somebody has applied for that license and then they've been approved after 2018, what happens to them now? Do they automatically get cut off? Do they just not get renewed? What happens at that point?
Through the chair, if a permit has been granted, they can continue the use. However, there would be restrictions surrounding the permit around noise, dust, and odor control. Till the time they are limiting themselves within the restrictions of the permit, they can continue to use it.
Would the permit be renewed?
Should the amendment get approved, if they were to apply for a new permit, they would not get approved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Weigel. Any other questions of council? I'm not seeing any. Do we have any written submissions?
Confirming for the record, Your Worship, that we've received no written submissions.
Do we have any verbal submissions?
Confirming for the record, we have no registered verbal submissions.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the gallery who wishes to come forward and speak to the item? Are there any further questions of council to administration? And just a reminder, once the public hearing is closed, no further questions or information will be gathered. Does administration have anything to add closing?
Through the chair, all we're doing is just cleaning up the land use bylaw and closing the loophole that allowed for activities that have that could potentially have an impact on the neighborhood. Our intention here is to clean up land use bylaw as much as possible, so there's no confusion to public, there's no confusion to us as administration. That's all.
Thank you. Councillor Cardinal?
Sorry about that. To the chair, to presenter. Thanks for the presentation. I guess, is there feedback that's coming back in order for us to move forward with this? Is that what I'm hearing? I didn't get to really get the briefer there. Sorry about that.
To the chair, to Councillor Cardinal, we have spoken to the business community, specifically automotive repair operators who are operating out of the commercial location, and we found that they were supportive of this amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cardinal. Councillor Stroud?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. And through to the presenter, I understand there has been a certain amount of complaints in this regard.
Through the chair, yes, we have received some complaints. In cases where we have received complaints, we have also tried to take some enforcement actions to resolve those complaints.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stroud. Councillor Bajoko?
Thank you again. So this will be in the category of people who do repairs in their homes, or so is it only for commercial or for someone just fixing the vehicles? How would you be able to tell the difference?
To the chair, we are only restricting repair of automotive equipment in residential areas. So essentially what this amendment is doing is saying no to someone doing automotive repairs in their garage or out on the road. This activity, this use is no longer going to be allowed in a residential community as a home business or a home occupation. If someone was to open a repair shop, they will have to find a commercial location.
So as a business, not as a personal repair. Because say for instance, Funky is repairing her car in her garage. Would that be allowed?
Absolutely. Through the chair, if you're working on your own car, you would be allowed to do so. It's only for commercial purposes. If someone wanted to practice commercial operation of repairing someone else's car in their garage, that would not be allowed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bajoko. Any other questions from council? Not seeing any. Thank you such. I now declare this public hearing closed. Coming out of the public hearing, we now have the second and third readings of bylaw number 23/007, land use bylaw text amendment for home business and home occupation definitions for council's consideration. Can I have someone make the motion for the second reading of the bylaw number 23/008? Councillor Grandison?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You've got the wrong number there. I move that bylaw number 23007 be in the land use bylaw text amendment for home business and home occupancy definition be read a second time.
Thank you, Councillor Grandison. Can I have someone second the motion? Councillor Stroud?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Stroud. Are there any other comments or debate points of council? Councillor Dogar?
I second the motion.
Oh, I think it was already seconded by Councillor Stroud, sir. Thank you. Are there any other comments or debate points of council? Not seeing any. I'll call for a vote. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I have someone make the motion for the third reading? Councillor Banjoko?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I move that bylaw number 23/007 be read a third and final time.
Thank you, Councillor Banjoko. Can I have a second that motion? Councillor Stroud?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I second the motion.
Thank you. Are there any comments or debate points from council? Not seeing any. Call for a vote. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have a report on the proposed sale of 8 lots to Janvier to the Chartered Métis Community Association. I'd like to invite Bryn Armstrong, Manager, Land Administration, to introduce the report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Bryn Armstrong, Manager of the Land Administration Branch, and joining me this evening is Sach Shandyok, Acting Manager of the Community Development Planning Branch. We are pleased to be here this evening to present a proposed land sale in the hamlet of Janvier. The Chard Métis Community Association, previously known as Métis Nation of Alberta Local Council 218 of Chard, is a registered nonprofit in the province of Alberta. Under their previous name, back in 2020, the Chard Métis Community Association requested to purchase 5 municipal properties for a housing development in association with the Indigenous Housing Initiative. This initiative was created by Synovus Energy Inc. and commits $50 million to build homes in 6 First Nation and Métis communities closest to their Foster Creek and Christina Lake oil sands operations. The Chard Métis Community Association is one of 6 communities that received funding. The Chard Métis Community Association's former request in 2020 for 5 municipal properties was approved by council at a nominal rate. 4 of the 5 properties that were sold to the Chard Métis Community Association now have homes on them are in the final stages of permitting. The 5th property has yet to be developed as it has slope challenges and requires clearing and grading, which will take time. Now, the Chard Métis Community Association is requesting to purchase 8 more municipal properties shown on attachment 1 at a nominal rate. The Chard Métis Community Association proposes to develop housing on these 8 properties with funding from the Indigenous Housing Initiative. Administration has reviewed this request and after careful consideration recommends the properties be sold at fair market value with conditions. Administration hired a professional appraiser to undertake valuations of the 8 properties. The full sum of the property value is $70,000 as outlined in attachment 2. If council chooses to sell the properties to the Chard Métis Community Association at less than market value, a motion can be passed this evening. The Municipal Government Act allows for the disposal of land at less than market value to a registered nonprofit organization without an advertising requirement. As outlined earlier, the Chard Métis Community Association is a non-for-profit. Recently, another stakeholder from Janvier has inquired about surplus municipal property for housing. We understand that this stakeholder is not yet in a position to acquire property. In the future, if this stakeholder is in a position, administration is here to receive and process that request. Our rationale for selling the properties with conditions to the Chard Métis Community Association is that the properties are vacant, deemed surplus to municipal needs, and contains no encumbrances other than standard utility right-of-way registrations. A conditional sale is that the Chard Métis Community Association apply and be granted a rezoning amendment for 3 of the properties to ensure they can use these properties for residential uses. In conclusion, administration supports the sale of these 8 properties to the Chard Métis Community Association as it aligns with the values outlined in Council's current strategic plan, and the sale will help to reduce the housing shortage in the community and improve housing conditions in the community of Janvier. This concludes our presentation. We welcome questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from council? I'm not seeing any. Do we have any other delegates for this item?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. We do have registered delegates for this item joining us by teams.
We have Justin Herman, Chief Executive Officer. If you want to. And Justin, are you joined with Rolando?
We are, yes, Your Worship.
Perfect. Yeah, you can go ahead and just reiterate, just to say your names for the record, and you have 5 minutes to speak. And if you can remain online afterwards for questions, would be appreciated.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council and senior administration. I'm Justin Herman, the Chief Executive Officer for the Charred Métis Nation and the group companies. And I also have with me Rolando Inzunza, our Director of Consultation. So thank you for the presentation and also all your hard work, Bryn Armstrong and the team. They've been amazing. They've accommodated us throughout, and also with all the help from the Indigenous engagement team. The RMWB's Indigenous engagement team have been a huge asset to the community, and we love working with them. And they've been helpful at and accommodating every step of the way. As you know, and we're part of the Synovus Indigenous Housing Initiative, and we've acquired 11 net new homes in the last 2 years, and we're only halfway done through our program. So we have 2.5 years left of the program, and we are estimating that we'll build another 8 to 10 more homes within the remaining 2 to 3 years. And you know, we're just out of lots right now, right? We're out of land, and so these 8 lots should see us through to the end of the program, and it'll provide much needed social housing and safe housing for the communities. And not only that, will tie into the RWSS system and you know, be contributing to the tax as well. And part of that is oh, sorry, am I still there?
Yeah, you're good, Justin. Okay. Yeah, no, the housing program has been amazing, and basically we're just trying to copy what we did in 2020, but for 8 more lots. And you know, we recognize that all the hard work that RMWB has done with us, and we just want to continue on the good work, and we just need the land to finish out our housing project and build homes for our members.
Thank you, Justin. Did you have anything else to add, Rolando?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would only add that ultimately, this nominal sale of land back to the Charred Métis Nation would be one of the ultimate acts of reconciliation to giving land back to the Indigenous community, and I think that would be a great capacity building, as you can hear from Justin, for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Rolando. Do we have any questions of council for either Mr. Herman or Mr. Inzinha? Councillor Grandison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. Nice to see you, gentlemen. Appreciate your presentation. In this program, are you managing to leverage you know, some gifts in kind and work in kind? And I see one of your comments was about clearing a lot, and you know, I know there's equipment and so on and so forth. Have you been successful in kind of leveraging some of those partnerships out there?
Through the chair to Councillor Grandison, our strategic partners have been extremely generous, and some of them have donated equipment, but I would say 90 to 95% of the cost we've had to cover ourselves.
Okay.
And yeah, and just to be clear too, the Synovus Indigenous Housing Initiative funding is just for the homes, net new homes. We don't use it for renovations, and then for clearing the lot, acquiring land, hooking up to the RWSS system, the survey, the survey, and anything that's not attached to the house is the cost of the community. And you know, we're 100% self-funded. We don't get any funding from the government, as some of the First Nations do. And yeah, so most of everything that we've, all the work that we've done, we've funded through our own resources and from the revenue that we've received through our strategic partnerships through the group of companies.
Excellent. Sounds like a lot of hard work and a lot of success. So congratulations on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grandison. Are there any other questions for the presenters? Councillor Banjoko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. I'm wondering if these homes are going to be affordable, or how competitive they'll be to residents. And I definitely appreciate the initiative.
Through the chair to Councillor Banjuco, our homes are social housing, so we do plan on our initial plan was to charge a nominal fee to our members, and it's less than half the cost of what Wood Buffalo housing is. And then for anybody over 60, which we designate an elder, they don't pay rent. And then if there's any of our members that have disabilities or don't have the capability of being able to afford the rent, even though it's significantly discounted, then we waive that as well. So it truly is social housing.
Thank you. I think that's all I can say. A big thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Majoko. Councilor Dogar.
Thank you, sir, for giving me the chance. Thank you, presenters. Good presentation. Certainly, it would be a good adventure. We'll enjoy and benefit from your experiences. I just want to ask you one question, that once you are doing all this job, would you be hiring locals in the labor class or not?
Through the chair to Councillor Dugar, we try all of the work that's done for the homes. Like we've been getting them pre-manufactured at Nelson Homes just because it's $200 a square foot cheaper, and which we're able to provide more home for our members. And at the end of the program, it could equate to 2, 3, 4 more homes, right? And then any of the work that gets done within the community, we try to utilize the local contractors as much as it's all performed by local contractors, but I try to give personal preference to the contractors within the community first.
I agree. Contractors local is okay, but make sure that they also hire the locals. Further hiring is of that area.
Through the chair to Councillor Dugard, I appreciate your comments, and 100% we check, and I know everybody in the community, so I know that everybody that we hire from the community, they're basically people I grew up with, so I could attest to your concerns there, and that's one of our initiatives is to hire local and subcontract the local.
Thank you, Councilor Dogar. Councilor Cardinal. You're on mute, Councilor Cardinal.
Hey, how's it going, Justin? Right on. Thanks for the presentation. I was just wondering, is the homes going to be eventually rent-to-own, or is it going to still be held by the nation?
Through the chair to Councillor Cardinal, the homes have to be held by the nation as per our agreement with the Synovus, because it has to benefit the community as a whole, not any certain specific individual. And then that way we could help with the maintenance of it and putting it there and whatnot, right?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say appreciate Rolando's, comments about reconciliation and us as a municipality, and that's what we do best, is to reconcile to people, especially Indigenous community. And I appreciate the presentation, and I look forward to seeing you guys again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cardinal. Are there any other questions from council for the presenters? I'm not seeing any, so thank you, gentlemen. Would someone like to put the motion on the floor? Councilor Stroud.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I move that administration be directed to complete the sale of 8 municipal lots legally described as Lot 48, Plan 832-1906, Lot 49, Plan 832-1906, Lot 62, Plan 832-1906, Lot 102, Plan 832-1906, Lot 118, Plan 832-1906, Lot 117, Plan 832-1906, Lot 116, Plan 832-1906, Lot 109, Plan 832-1906, in the hamlet of Janvier as highlighted on Attachment 1 in brackets subject area map, for a nominal fee to the Chard Métis Community Association, subject to the terms and conditions outlined in Attachment 2 in brackets land sale terms and conditions dated June 27th, 2023, accepting sale price which is to be nominal.
Can I have someone second that motion? Councilor Banjoko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second the motion.
Thank you. Are there any further questions of council for administration, followed by debate? Councillor Stroud?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. There are so many benefits to this project and it's working towards ending homelessness with transitional housing in Janvier and providing homes for elderly and residents on limited income. At the present time, there's no social housing or elder senior housing in Janvier through Wood Buffalo Housing. Chard Métis Community Association, in collaboration with Synovus, is working towards filling this much-needed gap in this community. These new homes will require water and sewer, which will increase the usage of the new rural water and sewer system. Our strategic plan includes working with Indigenous and rural communities. This certainly strives towards this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stroud. Councillor Grandison?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair, I want to echo some of what my colleague just indicated, but I'd also like to just congratulate everybody concerned with the assumption and responsibility of social housing within your own community and the participation of the RM in that process. It's very clear that you've taken the initiative, the ownership, and that's not something that could ever be done in Fort McMurray. It's something that has to be done in the community. So I just, I've been around for a couple of years, and as Rolando knows, I used to work in the communities, and it's just such a delight to see the initiative, the passion, and the outcomes that you're achieving. So I just wanted to congratulate you one more time and thank you for all your efforts, and please pass that on to all of those that are working and supporting this.
Thank you, Councillor Grandison. Councillor Cardinal?
Through the chair to the presenters, I wanted to say thank you to everybody involved in making planning and development, IRR at the regional municipality, everybody involved with working together. And I commend you guys as well for all your hard work and, making sure that everything's in place. And, you have my support fully on this initiative. And I hope for nothing but the best for the nation and the community of Janvier, and I hope that these places are, house beautiful families and people are taken care of. And I'm glad of being a part of the regional municipality and our reconciliation with the communities and all our hard work. And we're not done yet, and we're going to keep on rising. So you guys, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cardinal. Any other comments or questions of council? Not seeing it, I call for a vote. All in favor? And against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Next, we have a report on intervenor status 2023 designated industrial property assessment complaints. I'd like to invite Susan Trelinsky, Director of Legal Services, Chris Davis, Senior Manager of Legal Services, and Kevin Navindi, Senior Manager of Assessment and Taxation, to present, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councillors, and CAO Thorkelson. For the record, my name is Susan Trelinsky, Director of Legal Services, and appearing with me today is Kevin Navidi, Senior Manager of Assessment and Taxation, which of course is part of finance. Today I'm requesting intervenor status for the municipality under Section 508 of the Municipal Government Act for the tax year 2023. That section is set out in full in the council report, but essentially if council believes we should intervene, mainly for financial reasons, then they have the power to make that decision. Now, you may recall that historically we have intervened in a number of appeals. We intervened in 2019 and again last year. But just to back up, I'll give you an idea of what the appeals look like. The appeals go from 2019 to 2023, so in other words, for 5 years. They involve mainly Suncor and Fort Hills. The total amount for all tax years, that's all 5 years put together, is $105,752,717.28. The first hearing, so this has been on the go for 5 or 6 years, but the first hearing will commence next month on July the 17th, to be conducted virtually, despite our requests that the hearing be conducted here. And the board is in Edmonton, the lawyers are in Calgary, and of course the taxpayers are here in Fort McMurray. Now, for the 2023 tax year, the tax dollars are approximately $24,023,442.53, and of that sum, $20 million is attributable to Fort Hills. So I think that should be enough information to give you. The only difference with 2023 is that Synovus is now added in as a complainant. But our history with Synovus is that we've mainly settled with them, okay? And not for huge amounts of money. But now we're left with 5 years, sort of like 747s waiting to land at an airport, and they're waiting to come down, and we're off to the races later this month. So I respectfully request that you permit us to intervene pursuant to Section 508 of the Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Appreciate it. I definitely agree with giving this status, but is there any way for us to advocate to get, so we have more in the game on this? I know we talked about it before. Like at what advocacy, at what level can we really go to? Because honestly, when I talk to ministers, this isn't something anybody even knows about.
Yes.
This isn't a common knowledge item. So I'm kind of left with, who do we advocate to in that position?
Okay.
Through the chair to the chair. I think council has heard me previously speak on this. I think this is probably a fundamental advocacy piece for this municipality going forward. This whole process of the appeals of the province's assessment process. We have no control over those, but we and our taxpayers certainly bear the brunt of any appeals that are granted. The advocacy is directly with the province, and I think, as you alluded to, I would suggest that our local MLAs, our local minister, are the first step. But I think this is should be part of council's advocacy program going forward, and ensuring that we're raising this issue on a regular basis to help those elected officials at the province really start to understand what those impacts are. I think, as you alluded to, I think most MLAs in the province really would not have any knowledge of this appeals board, nor the process for assessing these lands and the tax process that goes along with that, and that responsibility that rests with the province. So it will be a part of, I think, the work that we do going forward in all meetings that you have, Mr. Mayor, with ministers, and certainly when we're in Edmonton, making sure that we're able to meet with ministers on a regular basis to ensure that this is a well understood topic.
Perfect. Thank you. I look forward to that information to go forward. Does any other councillors have any questions for administration? I'm not seeing any. Can someone make the motion? Councillor Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council for the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo, in finding that the interests of the public in the municipality or in major part of the municipality are sufficiently concerned, hereby authorize the municipality to become an intervener in the 3 current land and property rights tribunal cases from 2023, and also in any further similar complaints filed in 2023, all in accordance with Section 508 of the Municipal Government Act.
Thank you, Councillor Weigel. Can I have someone second that motion? Councillor Grandison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second that motion.
Thank you. Any other further questions or debate points of council? Not seeing any. Call for a vote. All in favor? And opposed? That's carried with one opposed. Thank you, everyone. That's ends today's meeting. Enjoy the rest of the week.